welcome to the next episode of the Personal Branding for Professionals video podcast. As a part of this series, we spotlight powerful personal brands across the globe to inspire today's professionals. I'm your host, Ketaki Vaidya, and today is an episode dedicated to networking. Networking is a topic that I can go on and on about. And what makes me so passionate about it is I see a lot of people who don't believe in the idea of networking and who think that networking is not going to do them any good. And I feel very sad for them because networking can open you up to a world of possibilities. It can open you up to a world of opportunities that wouldn't otherwise be possible. So if you strategize networking even for 5 minutes every day, you're going to transform your life. And I've also met a lot of people who do believe in this idea but are working in the wrong direction and are not networking effectively. So if there is one skill that the pandemic has taught us that we should have, and if there's one skill that you need to stand out in the 21st century, that is networking. Our guest today lives networking, and that's exactly how we got connected. He showed me what networking can really do and how beautiful it can be. And I'm really excited to share a dose of his energy with you in this episode. Joining us today is our favorite Albert Bellamy. Hey Albert, welcome to the show.
Hey Ketaki, glad to be here.
So first of all, tell me about your journey. I know that you are a data analytics superstar already on LinkedIn. That is established. But I want to go beyond that and understand what your journey is.
Yeah, self-proclaimed data analytics. There's a funny story behind that too, but that actually relates to branding and networking, funny enough. But so I, going back to the start of getting into data analytics and just my journey, it's funny, I was driving in here, I was watching the Christina Stathopoulos interview, and she starts off by saying, I didn't take the normal journey into data analytics, and I'm not sure there are too many people of our generation that did. So I just grew up being very statistically oriented. I always, I played baseball, but I was more interested in like keeping score and knowing the statistics that were going on. And so I graduated high school, and then I went to college. I'm from Ohio, so I went to Ohio U, because that's just what you do after high school. And I sort of coasted through for the most part. But I remember one class that just captured my attention. That was product and operations management. And at the time, this was like mid 90s. So at the time, that wasn't available as a major. It was just a concentration. You could take a class or two in it. But I was just fascinated by it. And it was a lot of supply chain operations, finding inefficiencies, optimization. And we had our culminating project was a 4-person team project. And I remember the other 3 people in the program were just business administration majors. And they were astounded that I was just giddy at the challenge that we had in front of us and doing this project. And I wound up doing probably 75% of it myself because it was just so much fun for me. And at the time, it never occurred to me that, hey, maybe this is something you should think about doing for a living. This is your calling, because it just wasn't available. So I eventually soured on Ohio U. I went and did a year-long internship in professional baseball, and then realized at the end of that I had no taste for college anymore. So I was also at kind of a crossroads in my personal life, so I decided to join the Marine Corps. Needed some discipline and some work ethic, so that seemed like the best place for it. So 23 years later, here I am getting out of the Marine Corps. And along the way, I went from enlisted to officer. I got a bachelor's degree in economics, which was fascinating to me, especially the econometrics and the quantitative aspects of it, and game theory and all of the kind of the things that relate to data analysis. Mm-hmm. And so then a few years later, I managed to get a master's degree, and that was actually in data analytics through Naval Postgraduate School. And so it's kind of all come to this. And then at the end of my career, now I've kind of in a very circuitous fashion carved out myself as an analyst. And that's where I am today. I'm transitioning out of the Marine Corps.
All right. That is very interesting. And one thing that I want to understand from your story, and I want you to contrast that with the world that is today, that today we have so many opportunities, right? Let's say that we find our calling and we want data analysis to be the area that we make our career in. But then we look at the number of masters and majors available, and there are thousands of them. So it's very difficult to choose from all of that. And we are going from a time where we had very little options to a time where we have a plethora of options, that it's so difficult and you get distracted and you can never find what your why is. So if you contrast these two times and if you look at it, which one do you think is a better time to be alive in, that time or this time?
Wow, better time to be alive. That's pretty wide. So for getting into data, it's absolutely better now. I mean, so I've even been kind of, it's a bit dizzying, the number of options that you have.
Yeah.
And so to address my skill gaps, I've gone from Coursera courses to Udemy to Data Camp and YouTube videos. I love Dave Langer and Leila Garani's Excel videos are wonderful. So yeah, it can be very
overwhelming,
very confusing to try and figure out where to concentrate. But that's a much better problem to have than, me in 1993, 94, looking at my options at Ohio U and saying I would have to transfer to another university, like physically move, and there was no online option at that time. So you would have to pack up, move, transfer to another university in order to even have that option. I would have killed for half of the things we can do today back then. So better now for that aspect, for sure.
Yeah, because I've always wondered about this thing that no matter what you want to do today, there are so many things that pull you from your core essence that it sometimes gets very difficult to understand what is it that you're interested in. Is it just a distraction, or is it just a part-time gig that you want to have, or is it something that you want to make a career in, right? So it gets very, very overwhelming at some point where you don't know which direction you want to go to. And the same is true with networking as well, that nowadays when you have multiple platforms to be on, and if you decide that you want to network, you first have to choose the platform. You first have to decide if you want to be on every platform, would that be a good choice of your time. At the same time, you have to set yourself a networking goal and all of that. So someone who does not have absolutely any idea on how networking is done, what is networking, why should they do it, and what are the strategies that you think we should be covering when we get started?
Yeah, so I mean, again, going back to the days before the internet was so widely available, my impression of networking was a bunch of men looking like Harvard types in a country club bar and drinking martinis and that sort of scene. And that sort of always stuck with me. It's easy to kind of not have to network in the military. You're given an assignment, you accomplish it, and you can network, but sometimes that's looked down upon a little bit. We kind of think that, the guys that are out there making connections are trying to be a general someday, and they're doing that, they're not getting their job done. So has had a very negative connotation in the military and in my mind.
Yeah.
The easiest way, certainly to get started, but the easiest way to expand a network rapidly is LinkedIn. And just because it's set up for that, it's the structures on that site, on that platform are set up to make it easy for you to do. You have very kind of measurable goals, and it's a very tangible and immediate impact when you expand your network. And then there are restrictions to kind of how much you can abuse it, because there is, with any social media platform, there is a potential for abuse, and the designers of LinkedIn have built in so many little governors and restrictions that they kind of guide you to an optimal network and an optimal pace of networking, which I think they're, for the most part, really cool. So I mean, as far as goals, I mean, it's another one of those little cool things they've put into LinkedIn is there was some study that showed that a 500-person network is kind of the optimal baseline level that yield you a ton of opportunity. And so on your LinkedIn headline, once you have 500 connections, it just says 500 plus.
Yeah.
So that tamps down kind of the ego-driven, oh, I've got a bigger number than this other person. Everyone at the top of their headline, it just says you got 500 or you got 10,000. It just says 500 plus.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good goal, and that's kind of the first thing people look at to see if you're serious about using the platform, and if you've put some time and effort into it. So that's a good start for networking. And then, yeah, I think it's easy to get started on there. Unfortunately, it's also kind of easy to just sort of turn turtle on LinkedIn and just be an onlooker. And that's why I kind of was stressed to me when I started a few months ago. And I stress to other people getting on the platform that you have to start putting yourself out there. There's a warm-up period. Got it. You have to kind of observe for a little bit and see what's going on, but you got to push yourself out of your comfort zone. But it's certainly much easier, especially for people in the data community. We tend to be introverted, and we tend to not be the people that want to go to in-person mixers and go walk up to people and strike up a conversation. I'm no exception. And so it sort of removes a lot of that stigma and that fear of kind of sight unseen interpersonal connection, the blind date aspect of it.
All right, that is one thing. But when we get started, we all definitely need to have a networking goal, right? Because there's always some goal that is underlying every action that we do. And even when we reach out to people, we have some filters in our mind that, okay, I want to look at the people from the data community, or maybe I want to just meet new people. So how can one decide what exactly their networking goal is? It can be very difficult to narrow it down to a single networking goal. And sometimes people blindly network without any specific goal in their mind, and in the longer run, I don't think it really pays off well.
Yeah, you don't want to be a lion. If you're just open networking and just blasting the connect button on LinkedIn, that's not a productive network.
Exactly.
So the number is not the goal. It needs to be a qualitative goal, not a quantitative goal.
Right.
And so I think the goal really is just, while you can measure yourself by saying I have 500 plus, so I'm a serious LinkedIn user, the goal, I think, of your network, whether it's on LinkedIn or in person or what have you, is to have it be productive for you without you having to put in all the effort.
Right.
And that connects to branding as well, because once you have a network of people out there, be it 100, 500, 10,000, if they know you as the branding podcast person, if they know me as the former Marine going into data analytics, when they spot an opportunity that fits your skill set, they think of you and they contact you. And so I think that regardless of the number of connections in any arena, the qualitative goal is that you have a network that will come to you with opportunities and say, I think this would be a good thing for you. And then those opportunities are actually something that you might be interested in. I'm on one military transition platform that keeps sending me emails saying, would you like to go to the John Deere tractor headquarters and learn how to work on tractors? That's not particularly productive. That's not something I'm terribly interested in. I'm sure it's great for somebody. It's not my thing. So
setting a networking goal is absolutely important, and I think that's the first step when you begin to network. But do you think that people have to be present on all the platforms, or do you think that they can just start with one and then expand to the other platforms? Because again, we have the fear of missing out, and we feel that we're just missing out on a lot of audience when we are not a part of a few platforms, and it can get really difficult to maintain that same level of engagement on all the platforms when you're beginning to network. So how should one approach this problem?
I think it's mostly a function of your time and energy available. It's fairly rare that people, I suppose maybe if you're in college but you're still working on classes, it's fairly rare that people end one job and then begin an employment search for the next one. if you get fired unexpectedly, I understand that. But yeah, for the most part, you're not conducting a job hunting search with 24 hours a day available to you. You probably, I'm at my desk 10 to 12 hours every day, Monday to Friday. So I have what's left after, sleeping and eating and spending time with my family, to conduct all of my transition activities, to include networking, branding, content creation, that sort of thing. Yeah. So it's a function of the time available. I think that you just have to kind of get rid of the fear of missing out. There are literally thousands of platforms that I can use as a transitioning military member. I can't possibly be on all of them. And I learned very quickly when I started transitioning that once I got a handful that I really believed in and were doing good work for me, I had to start just saying no to the rest of them. When some passionate advocate would come to me and say, "Have you heard of this program?" I have, and thank you. I just don't have the bandwidth to work with that. So I think I've got enough, and I think you just have to get a feel for what's enough. You are going to miss out on opportunities on other platforms. That's just, unless you have an army of search bots out there, scouring every corner of the internet. There's only so much data processing the human mind can do.
Absolutely. No matter how much you try, you're always going to miss out on a few opportunities, right? You cannot have everything come your way. But again, as you said, the goal is to find what fits you, find what is suitable to you, and then just focus all your time and energy left that you have on that particular aspect, right? Because that way, at least you know where you're going, and if you have a goal in mind, you know where you're headed. So I've seen people that they start with a very ambitious goal, and they're all positive about networking, and they begin and they continue that for maybe 2 to 3 months, and at that point they don't see any opportunity. So they come in with the mindset of getting some benefit, or they have some things in mind that I'm definitely, if I do this, I'm going to get this benefit. If I do this, I'm going to get a job. If I do this, people are going to contact me. But that doesn't happen so soon, right? It at least takes a year, and that's different for everyone, because it's based on the trajectory that you're in, it's based on the path that you are in. And sometimes by the time opportunities land up, and by the time people start engaging with your posts, or you actually start seeing those results, it takes a while. So how can someone keep going, and how can someone keep themselves motivated without giving up when they don't see any results of all the efforts that they're putting in?
I think that you have to, you can't approach it as mercenary, and it can't be a transactional thing. And that's why I said, don't be a lion, don't be an open networker, just firing connection requests with no message. It has to be, you have to be engaging. You have to approach it as, I'm going to establish a personal relationship with this person that I've probably never met. And we're going to find some common ground on which to connect. And then down the road, once they know who I am and what kind of value I can bring, then they will maybe find an opportunity for me. But it's the analogy I like is scattering seed. You don't, if you have a patch on your lawn that is bare, and you somehow calculate that it's going to take 100 blades of grass to cover it, you don't lay down 100 grass seeds. You lay down 1,000 grass seeds, or just saturate the area, knowing that not all of them are going to grow. Yeah. It's the same way with getting connections or with meeting people. If you're out dating, if you meet 10 women, the first one you meet is not likely to become your wife. So you approach it saying, I'm going to continue meeting people until I find the one for me. It's the same way with connections. You put out, you go search for people that, or you come across people that look like they could be productive, that they have common interests, that there's someone that you can talk to, someone you're interested in as a professional connection. And then you start a professional relationship with them. You start talking about work, or you start talking about whatever you feel like talking about. And then quite possibly that person becomes a productive connection who gives you a job referral. Or you meet 100 people and then you've multiplied that chance 100-fold. Yeah. The thing you have to watch out for is, even without being an open networker, even if you're giving personal messages to people and asking them questions, engaging with them, it can very quickly become overwhelming just dealing with the connections and people that want to talk to you, that can take over a large amount of your time, and it can overwhelm you. So I urge people, when they start networking, only increase your network at the pace in which you can engage with those people and build some sort of relationship with them. Otherwise, you're just looking for pretty numbers.
Absolutely, that's true. And one other thing that I want to understand from you is we all know that networking can create opportunities, right? And it's very important to approach networking with a mindset where you want to give more than you want to receive, right? Because all of us, we have some things in mind, and there's a motive behind why we network. But even before you want to start receiving from people, you have to have the mindset of giving as much as you can. How can you add value to that connection? Is it just your presence that can motivate them, or is it just a conversation that can energize them for that day? And that's how we all think. But how can networking really create opportunities, and how has it benefited you personally in your life?
So the funnier story that I have on that is I started talking. Someone posted something on LinkedIn about the best mechanical pencils. I love mechanical pencils, and I'm very particular about the ones that I use. And so I weighed in on the kind of raging debate on the best mechanical pencils, and threw in my candidate, and started a conversation with a data scientist. And it turns out he's actually a very accomplished guy. He's on the Artists of Data Science and several other things. He's very present on LinkedIn. And so we started a private message conversation, and then he said, "Hey, my company is always hiring data analysts. Maybe you should look into it. They're remote." And so, knowing my situation with my family, the fact that I'm staying in North Carolina after my retirement, he identified an opportunity with his company and said that and offered an internal referral, which was amazing. And there's better than zero chance that I'll eventually work for that company. I'm still talking to him and still kind of engaging on that. It's not something I can take advantage of right now, but yeah, once I retire, that's absolutely an opportunity that I'll look into. But I mean, just think about it: mechanical pencils. We're talking about our favorite writing implements, and that generated what is at the very least a productive job lead and an internal referral, just based on the fact that he enjoyed talking to me. Yeah. And vice versa. So the bigger example is when I started looking into how to become a data analyst professionally, I started looking, as we do, on YouTube and looking on LinkedIn to see who were kind of the leading lights and who was speaking on the subject and being listened to. And one of the YouTube channels that I happened upon was called, strangely enough, "How to Get an Analytics Job." And so I started watching their videos, and I started responding to the videos and liking the ones that were interesting to me. And I listened to their podcast in my car, and then connected with the podcast runner on LinkedIn, and we started up a conversation. So again, everything comes full circle. They had Christina Statopoulos on a few months ago, and I just had nothing interesting to say on LinkedIn that day, so I just posted that, "Hey, I'm very excited about watching this video," and they said that they were going to do a live chat, and Christina was actually going to be on there. So I said, "Hey, this is great, a chance to ask her questions during the video, watch the interview," which was interesting. And so I got on there, and I think it drove up the people that were live chatting on the video premiere because I had advertised it that morning on my profile. So about a week later, he sent me a message and said, "Hey, we're not doing much with our LinkedIn page for the channel. Would you like to run it for a month as a project?" So I said, "Sure." And that has just taken off. It's now been a month passed by, and neither one of us said anything about me stopping. So I just kept going. So yeah, that page has been a big success. I've become more involved in the live chats. I think we've gotten 3 straight. I was one, but we've got 3 straight guests on the podcast to come in and live chat. The premiere has become an event. We premiere the videos at noon on Friday. Last week we had 59 people in to live chat during the video, to include the guests. And so it's really just been an amazing opportunity that's just taken off. The franchise, the company is, it's not a franchise. The company has more revenue streams that they're developing, and things that they've got kind of ready to release. And they're talking about involving me in more of their initiatives. So yeah, it's really been fantastic. And it's just same thing, just started watching their videos on YouTube, started talking to the guy running the show, and it just blossomed from there. So it's really been pretty impressive. And it's, you know, a tangible, again, LinkedIn and YouTube, tangible evidence of engagement and networking.
Yeah, so I think from a mechanical pencil to finally running the LinkedIn page and eventually getting a job there, that's what networking can do to any one of us, right? So we'll have to remember that when we start networking, and it's very important to not go by how it's going to benefit you, but the benefits, they are sometimes not tangible. You don't know how you grow yourself personally when you start doing all of these things, and someday the opportunity is definitely going to walk in. But till then, you need to be consistent and have the patience to keep going. That's definitely what I can understand from your story. And that's something that our viewers can implement as well. You've simplified networking for all of us, and you've made it something more exciting than the way that it looks so boring for some people. And I hope that with this video, people will be able to start small and actually get their feet into the world of networking and see what it has to offer to them. And I hope that this video benefits a lot of people out there who are very intimidated by the idea of networking and who maybe have the wrong conception of what networking actually is. So you've cleared out a lot of that for all of us. And I'm really thankful for all the support that you give me in my personal vending journey as well. Thank you so much for all of that.
That's my pleasure. Thank you, Ketaki.
And I'm going to link the channel that you manage, How to Get an Analytics Job, in the description below, so that people can go subscribe to that channel. And I can also support you as much as I can in your journey.
Absolutely. Likewise.